hundreds of people online. We are going to keep everybody muted. If you have questions for me to answer at the end of this, I'll be happy to take those. Just send me your question and I'll take a look and answer any that look good for everybody's benefit. And let's go ahead and start. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you for taking part in this process as a delegate or an alternate to the Republican Party of Texas 2020 State Convention. Before we begin, I know the number one question on your mind is the news out of Houston from Mayor Sylvester Turner and Houston First sending their letter today canceling our convention. The Republican Party of Texas received the letter canceling our 2020 Republican Party of Texas State Convention, and we will pursue all legal options possible against the city of Houston and Houston First to handle this disruption of our convention process and deal with its ramifications and impact on you, our delegates, and with our contracts with vendors, hotels, and sponsors. What I can tell you right now is we have to consult with our legal team. We want to make sure we have a clear understanding of all our legal options. We have to consult with our officials committee. We have to consult with our convention hotels and vendors. So we need a bit of time tonight and tomorrow morning to talk with all those folks, and then we will circle back with you about our path forward. We want to continue to be judicious as we move forward. Know that the SREC has made it clear that it is our desire, as it has always been, and as you will hear as I talk tonight, to go forward with an in-person convention. But the SREC has also approved a contingency plan to go online. So we do have a plan ultimately to move forward with our convention either way on time next week. So thank you for your patience as we deal with the aftermath of Mayor Turner's announcement this afternoon. I did not want to cancel this Zoom meeting tonight because our convention schedule is intact, no matter the format or the process by which events need to occur procedurally. Either way, that process will be the same. So I wanted to proceed in sharing with you what to expect from the convention experience. So let's go ahead and talk about that. And again, the target audience for this is first-time delegates or attendees or alternates to the convention so that you can really get a jump start and get the most out of the convention experience. And the reason why I want to share this with you is because the convention experience is really what made me fall in love with the Republican Party of Texas. I had no idea what would lie ahead when I showed up in 2008 in the primary, and 10 minutes before the polling closed, I cast my vote. And Myron Goins checked me in, had me sign in on the combo sheet, had me go vote in the ballot, voting booth, and then gave me my I voted sticker. He then said, why don't you join us for this precinct convention meeting? And I went, and there were a couple other, there was a lovely couple there. It's our county tax assessor, collector, and his wife. And we lived in a very Republican district, so we could send 19 delegates and alternates to the Senate District Convention. I didn't know what that was, but they were great people, and they had great resolutions, and I liked the policies that they cared about. And so we all voted ourselves delegates to the Senate District Convention. And then I went to the Senate District Convention, and I saw that people were applying to go be delegates to the state convention. And I'd never been to a state convention. And I applied. Well, they didn't know me. I hadn't been involved. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd voted in every Republican, every primary and general election there had been. I had donated to Republican candidates. I'd even block walked for some Republican candidates, but I'd just never really been involved with the party. So they made me an alternate delegate to the state convention. And the state convention that year just happened to be in Houston. And I took my kids with me to Houston, and they got to see how we crafted our platform and crafted our rules. And then when it came time, because that was a presidential year, when it came time to run to be a national delegate, my kids asked me if I was going to step forward. And I did. And Myron nominated me to be a delegate. But nobody else knew me in the room. And so when I told the story about how I had 30 years in the insurance business and doing sales and marketing and the like, and Republicans just haven't done a good enough job spreading our word and spreading our message, I came in a distant third in that election. But then, with some encouragement from my kids, I ran again as an alternate. And that time I told the story about how when I was very first a vice president, that I'd risked everything by refusing to participate in our company's PAC because they gave to people who support things that we could never tolerate. And told them that if they trusted me, I would stand up for what we believed then just as much as I stood up for my family and my principles that day. And they elected me to be an alternate delegate to national. And so in just a few short weeks, I went from not being involved with the party organization to, through the convention process, being a national alternate delegate to our national convention. Now, that's why our conventions are so important. That is why I believe in having an in-person convention. Because the idea that all of us, average citizens from all over Texas, who just believe in the same things, that when we come together, we can do more than any of us could do alone. That's what makes our convention so amazing. So, as a new delegate or alternate, the biggest thing to understand is that the three main duties at our state convention are to revise our state rules, to update our state platform, and to elect our representatives and officers. So on Monday, we'll start with temporary committees. Now, in the convention process, a lot of work happens in advance. And in fact, in these temporary committees is where a lot of the prep work happens long before we get there. Now, the conventions are self-organized, right? The only way to be a delegate to the state convention is to have been elected a delegate by a Senate district or county convention. And the only ones who are allowed to serve on those temporary committees are people who have been elected delegates from their Senate district and county conventions. And the temporary committees are appointed. The temporary committee membership is appointed. So each of your SREC members, the State Republican Executive Committee, that's the board of directors, if you will, of the Republican Party of Texas. There are 64 of us who serve on that board. The chairman, the vice chair, and one man and one woman each from each of our 31 Senate districts. Each of those, according to our rules, the committee man and woman from each of those districts gets to appoint one committee member for each of the standing committees, for the temporary committees that happen in advance. And the chair appoints the chair, the temporary chair of each of those committees. So they get to work on Monday. And the big three committees, the ones that need the most time to prep, are the Rules Committee, the Platform Committee, and the Legislative Priorities Committee. So Monday, they'll come in Monday mid-morning, and they will start. Now, the Platform Committee and the Legislative Priorities Committee, they have so much to work on. They actually do a lot of prep work in advance to even starting there on Monday. They're already consolidating all the input from all of the Senate district conventions, all the county conventions. They're organizing it, categorizing it, making sure that redundancies are noted, but not messed with. So Monday, mid-morning, the platform committee, the rules committee, the legislative committee, they will first meet. They will be members who have been appointed. They are all delegates, and they will start the prep work. On Tuesday, they'll continue their work, and it is not unusual. I served on the Rules Committee in 2016. It is not at all unusual that the Rules Committee and the Platform Committee on that Tuesday work from 8 a.m. to midnight. On Wednesday, they'll continue their work, and sorry, somebody was handing me a note. They will continue their work, and the Credentials Committee will also go to work. And the Credentials Committee will go to work because they need to check the list of delegates to confirm that and deal with any issues there are, any challenges there are to the credentials of the delegates who have been set up for the convention. Let's talk a little more about each of those main things, because again, that's the three big duties we have: setting our rules, setting our platform and the things that go with it, and then electing our representatives and officers. The rules is probably the most complex part of our process. As Republicans, we believe in personal responsibility, and we also believe in federalism. And our structure here at the Republican Party of Texas absolutely reflects that. The Republican Party is made up of county parties, state parties, and the national party. Of course, we are most effective, and it is best when we are all working well together. But there is not a direct reporting relationship. The state chairs do not report to the national chair. The county chairs do not report to the state chair or the SREC. We are all separately elected, and it's important that we all work together to advance our shared goals. Now, the national party's rules do put some limits on what we're able to do at the state level, and the state party rules put some limit on what the county parties are able to do. And our state rules are developed by the delegates to the state convention, by you. This is why it's important for us to have meaningful debate on those rules. The rules guide what can and cannot be done, when it can be done, by whom it can be done, and how it can be done. Those rules are on our website, texasgop.org. You can click up and see the rules. Go check them out. Those rules guide all sorts of activities of what we do, including things like when our elections are held, what you can and can't do in a convention, the order of things happening in conventions. Within the limits set by the state rules and the state law, every 2 years, the county parties set their own rules for operating. But then simultaneously and separately, we have the conventions, and the conventions set their own rules for operations within those same limits. So for example, at your Senate district or your county convention, you may have had rules that said, if you wanted to be elected to the state convention, the delegates are all elected at large, and you go apply for a nominating committee, and then the nominating committee makes a report. Or you may have had rules that said each precinct gets to elect a certain number of delegates to state, and then the nominations committee only elects the remainder. That's what I mean when I talk about the convention having its own rules. At state, one of the first things we will do is vote on the rules for our convention. How long do we have speeches? How do we take nominations? What's the deadline to file to run for something? Those kinds of rules are going to be in our convention rules. But then we also have our state rules that determine things like what are the consequences if a negative vote comes down about what the SREC is allowed to change or not. Now, as I said, a temporary committee will have already been working on those rules for 3 days in advance of the beginning of our general meetings. That temporary committee's debates this time are going to be available online via live stream at texasgop.me/YouTube. So texasgop.me/YouTube, we will live stream our convention feeds. That includes the main committee meetings and the general sessions. You'll be able to watch live as the committee, the temporary committee that meets 3 days in advance of the general session, you'll be able to watch online as they have their debate about the rules. They're also going to be working on live documents, so you'll be able to see the actual rule that they're talking about and the changes they're considering while they consider it. I strongly recommend that whether you are there in person, if possible, or not, that you follow along and get informed on our rules long before we get the committee report. Now, once our convention starts, you'll be able to vote on the permanent committee members for the committee. The permanent committee members, so we've had temporary committees, they are people appointed. You'll vote on the permanent committee members. They'll review, reconsider, and make any additions or changes as necessary to the temporary committee work. And once the permanent committee presents their report, you'll have a chance to debate their proposal in general session, and the changes will only be final once the convention passes a report as amended. Now, platform is the same thing. The platform has 3 main parts: the principles, the platform planks, and our legislative priorities. The principles are the short list of core statements that the Republican Party of Texas delegates have identified as things that Texas Republicans nearly unanimously agree on. The legislative priorities are the initiatives that delegates would like party staff and officers to proactively work towards advancing in the next legislative session. The platform is the resource guide, the encyclopedia, if you will, of policy positions that the party has settled on. And I get a lot of questions of, should the platform be shorter? And it's true, the platform had over 300 planks in it. Now, fortunately, we were able to get bills passed last session that successfully addressed 49 of those planks. So we may actually see the platform get a little shorter this time for the best possible reason, that parts of it were passed. But I get asked all the time, am I worried about whether there's 300 platform planks? And I remind people that the last legislative session, there were 6,000 bills filed. So 300 platform planks as a resource manual for us on different policies is not actually a problem. A temporary committee will have already been working on those for 3 days in advance of the beginning of our general meetings. That temporary committee's debates will be available online via live stream, texasgop.me/YouTube for your viewing pleasure, and their work in progress will be available online. Once convention starts, you'll be able to vote on a permanent committee. Then we come to elections. In the elections, on the first day, on Thursday, we will vote for members of the National Nominations Committee. Anyone who wants to apply to be an at-large national delegate or an at-large national alternate needs to go apply to the National Nominations Committee. That's national business. And here's a really important thing for you to understand. The business this time, because it's presidential year, is going to be separated between national business and state business. State business we have every 2 years. National business we only have every 4 years. The state business is all done in Senate district caucuses. So if you hear someone say, we're going to go to an SD caucus, then you know you're going to go talk about state business. If someone says, I'm going to go to a CD caucus, you know the discussion is going to be about congressional district national business. And so in that first congressional district caucus, you'll elect a member of the National Nominations Committee. That is the committee that, God bless them, will hear hours of testimony from people who would like to be at-large delegates or at-large alternates. And then they will do the tough work of deciding on a committee that they will recommend, a slate of national at-large delegates, national at-large alternates, that they will recommend to the convention for us to vote up or down or amend. The other thing that'll happen on Thursday is the election of the permanent caucus chair. So there will have been a temporary caucus chair who will be working to get things ready. You will elect your permanent caucus chair. And that's really the important thing to know. A lot of appointments will have gone on in advance, and a lot of people will be doing a lot of really good prep work in advance. But all of the decisions at convention are up to you, the delegates there, and the seated alternates there during the convention. The other thing that we'll be doing is having the permanent committees meet on Thursday. On Friday, we have consolidated and streamlined the schedule so that at the request of some SREC members, so that almost all of the elections are on Friday. That's when you will elect state chair, state vice chair, SREC committee man and woman, and obviously those are all state business, so they will all happen in Senate district caucuses. Then you will also elect the national committee man, national committee woman, the 3 delegates and 3 alternates from your congressional district. Obviously, that's all national business. The other big thing you will do that day on Friday is elect the presidential elector from your congressional district. So you will be electing, and one of the other people in the room with you that day will be one of the 38 Texans who cast their vote for President Donald Trump next January, after we succeed in making sure he wins this November. That's all Friday. It's going to be a full day of elections. And then on Saturday, again, we've consolidated all the activity on Saturday to be about the rules and the platform. So Saturday is going to be about rules and platform. Friday is going to be elections all day. We did that on purpose so that as we were working to streamline an in-person meeting, that if people needed to come in just for one day, they could pick a day or 2 days, they could pick the days that they most wanted to come in. So that's how convention works. And hopefully that means that once you get there, in addition to all of that, we will have some great meals. We've got a prayer breakfast. We've got the Grassroots Club breakfast. I hope all of you are members of the Grassroots Club. If not, go to grassrootsclub.com and please sign up to be a Grassroots Club member and join us for the Grassroots Club breakfast. We're also going to have a congressional luncheon on Saturday. We will have the gala on Friday, and we are looking forward to all of that. So, as I said, we just got the letter from the mayor in Houston first, near 4 o'clock this afternoon. We are going over that with the legal team. We are determining what our next steps are, and we will keep you posted on that tomorrow. So let me see what else we have. I do want to thank on this call, I want to thank every one of the SREC members who have and county chairs who are on the call tonight for all of the effort you do every cycle to help make sure that this whole convention process, from precinct conventions on up to the state convention, all goes smoothly. I also want to give a special shout out to Congressman Randy Weber. Thank you for being a part of our call tonight. It is so great to have elected officials with a grassroots background and grassroots dedication. Really appreciate you for that. Okay, let's see if we've got any other questions. Okay, how will the meals be done if we have to go online rather than in person? We have arranged for a lot of food service to be there in making it sure that you wouldn't have to leave more than absolutely necessary. If we are not part of the committees, can we come in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Yes, of course. The committee meetings are all open to the public. You can watch them online. You can also show up in person to watch them. How do you confirm your reservations? Okay, so on our website, on the convention page on the website, just the same link that you would go to make a new reservation. If you sign in with your email, and there's a way to get a forgot your password. If you sign in with your email, you'll be able to pull up your reservation details and make any adjustments there that you'd like to. Let's see. By all means, you're all welcome to email me at jrdickey, jrdickey at texasgop.org. You know, I meant what I said when I opened this. The convention process is what made me fall in love with our party. It is what proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that we are the most grassroots, most bottom-up party in the country, bar none. In the last 3 years, as I've been a state chair and gone to national RNC meetings and talked to state chairs from all over the country, it has only reaffirmed that truth. We are the most bottom-up, grassroots-driven party. Absolutely love it. We will be updating you more tomorrow. One of the questions, if you're running in the CD for one of the RNC delegate positions, what we said, oh, good question. So the elections are all going to be on Friday, but the way we have always done it, we're not changing up this part. If you are elected to be a national delegate or alternate on Friday, you do need to stick around to the end of the meeting on Saturday so that we can have a meeting to then get everybody signed up. The national delegates then elect their own committee members. They have to elect their credentials committee members. And this year, of course, the national convention has had massive disruption. The national credentials committee members will have to go to Charlotte, along with state chair, the national committee man, and national committee woman, and the head of the delegation, which is typically usually the governor or the lieutenant governor. Those 6 folks will have to go to Charlotte and to Jacksonville, and then everybody else will go just to Jacksonville. And I know they're dealing with all of the updates and fluctuations just like we have been. Let's see. So what did the letter from the Houston mayor say? It said they were looking to cancel. We are talking to our attorneys about all of our options. But no matter what we do, we will make sure we do not miss out on enforcing our rights, and we will also make sure that we get our critical convention business done. Let's see. How do you know if you're selected to any committees? We sent out emails over the last 24 hours to everybody who was. We've had a very condensed schedule, right? Because the last of the county and Senate district conventions were on June 27th. We've had a very condensed schedule in the last 24 hours. We have sent an email out to everyone saying, congratulations, you're on this committee. So if you did not get one of those emails, then the odds are you're not on that committee. By all means, feel free to check with your SREC member, committee man or committee woman, and find out that. Let's see. So we are. Are there parking passes for delegates? There is parking cost information available on the registration page, and unfortunately, no, there are not parking passes, and parking in downtown Houston is not inexpensive. What is the email to use for questions? Great question. The email to use is conventions@texasgop.org. So email any questions you have to conventions@texasgop.org. A lot of questions around why not move the convention here or there or elsewhere. This convention is planned years in advance. You have to have, as we've talked about, you have to have breakout rooms for every Senate district caucus. You have to have breakout rooms for every congressional district caucus. These days, dealing with coronavirus, you have to have the ability to space out. So we have caucuses where we need room for 300 people to be socially distant while meeting. That's not a thing to take lightly, especially when you're dealing with dozens of those. Again, I am so excited to talk to you guys about this, and so excited to be able to see you when we have our convention. That looks like the majority of it. We are going to be updating you daily. There is so much going on and so much changing, and we are all dealing with a unprecedented time and unprecedented challenges. Again, my email address is jrdickey@texasgop.org. I'm grateful for every one of you. Thank you for stepping up to serve as a delegate or alternate to our convention. It is absolutely critical. Without you, none of this works. We need you. I appreciate you. God bless you, and God bless Texas.